So you're starting the smoky eye now. What do you start with?
I'm starting the smoky eye, and I'm starting with sort of a medium warm brown, which I like to do all over the eye, more as a base. I feel that when I go quite dark, it adheres better to another powder rather than to just the foundation. Even though I did powder, it is more intense with the eyeshadow, so this just evens the eyelid even more and makes it really matte.
So you're using a bit of eyeliner now instead of going straight into the shadows. Why is that?
Yes, I just want, where I wanted the darkest, I want to give it a really good black base so that when I do the eyeshadow over it, that will blend away really nicely as really dark. So just in the lash line and coming out is where I'm going to smudge a bit of this in, and then I'll cover it with eyeshadow.
So it gives it that depth when you go to do your contour if you've got that underneath.
Yes.
That's a good tip.
It's a great tip because you can never achieve that real black look if you use just your eyelid as the base. Yeah, so that's quite rough because it needs to be smudged.
So it doesn't have to be perfect. You can put it on rough and then you smudge it after.
Yeah, so that doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be pencil because it smudges easily, not too greasy though. You know, some pencils are really quite greasy and they will travel too much.
I love this little trick. This is very particular to you.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you're the only makeup artist who uses this, but I like what you do with it. Can you explain?
Well, when you use dark colours on the eyes, there's quite a lot of mess that can appear on the cheeks because it drops. So I like to put tissue right underneath like that, and that hopefully catches rather a lot of it, and it means that the foundation stays clean and is on the eyes only. So I start with the darkest in the lash line and start blending up.
And what brush are you using?
For this, because it needs to be quite precise, just a small eyeshadow brush. I'm going for black right in the lash line and blending it away, and then I'll change colour. So you get a bit of a gradation. And now I go for the colour that I want most intense on the lid.
And you're using a different brush this time? More of a sponge
it's a
tip.
little
Why?
sponge tip. I find that it's, without wetting the eyeshadow, it creates a more intense effect. So instead of brushing it on, I'm almost pressing it in.
Any tips for going underneath with the eyeshadow?
Just always go right up to the lash line. And I go with this main colour all along, and then I'll darken it right in the lash line afterwards. But it needs to be softer than the top and really well blended.
Yeah. So now you're using a darker black eyeshadow?
I'm mixing a bit of black and brown, and I'm going right into the lash line and blending it away into the base eyeshadow.
It's messy work, these smoky eyes, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's why you've got the Kleenex, huh?
Yes, I mean there's still a little bit of droppage, but that's pretty easy to clean as opposed to having whole cheeks covered in the eyeshadow.
Yeah.
Some makeup artists, as you probably know, prefer to use do eyeshadow first and then actually do the foundation on cheeks.
After, yeah.
So that I can keep it clean.
Your base eyeshadow, then you've got the black smudged and then the main brown colour. You've got all your parts and now it's blending it all to make it all work, right?
No, it's just creating one whole so that there's no separate parts that you can see in it.
Do you blend it with a coloured eyeshadow or do you just use brushes to blend? What are
I
your
use a
tips?
bit of the eyeshadow, so I try to use a bit of the eyeshadow that's in between the two that I'm blending, which kind of makes sense because then that creates the shadow in between, it creates the colour in between. I just mix, and this is really one of those things that you have to look at what you're doing and keep adjusting it. It's different with every eye shape and it just requires a lot of patience in order to make it perfect. Just look down that way.
I think this is where people at home can get it so wrong, i.e. me. Don't have the time, don't really know how to do it, kind of get a big fluffy brush
time.
and... What are your tips with blending and what brush are you using?
I'm now using a bigger eyeshadow brush. I like it to not be too soft so that it doesn't bend right away because you want to have a bit of pressure from it when you are blending. It is more advanced, but like everything else, it takes practice. The more you do it, the faster you get. Okay, we can leave the eyeshadow there for now.
So we've got the base of the smoky eye done and now it's liner, lashes and a few little individual lashes on the end.